right. Well, welcome everybody. We are excited to have you join us today for our webinar titled On Our Way, Week in the Lives of New Law Firm Owner. We named this webinar On Our Way because, we're still learning the ropes as we go in our journey as entrepreneurs. So this is us figuring things out as we go. This session is about sharing what it's really like to be attorneys who have started our own practice. I started my practice 9 months ago, and June recently started her practice. Today, the goal of the webinar is to give you a behind the scenes of our weekly routines, offering you candid view of the challenges and the triumphs we've faced in our journey as entrepreneurs and law firm owners. We'll share personal insights and experiences that show how we've remained motivated and found joy in our work. And then most importantly, we hope to inspire you to maybe take that leap and start your own business. So we're excited. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction, Daven, and welcome everybody. Just really quickly in the chat, if you can just put whether you are an aspiring business owner or you already have your business set up, and if so, what kind of business it is, so that we have an idea who our audience is. If you could please put that in the chat, that would be great. And I am going to start off by introducing my good friend whom I met in law school, who is also an attorney, and the other co-presenter today on this webinar, Daven Ghandi. So Daven, as some of you may already know, is an immigration attorney based in New York, and he is also the founder of Causa Law. With a passion for justice and advocacy, Daven specializes in guiding individuals, families, and businesses through U.S. immigration law. Daven's journey includes living in Guatemala to better understand the challenges faced by asylum seekers and unaccompanied minors, which inspires his work and dedication to his clients' stories. Daven started his law firm Causa Law in October of 2024. And just a little backstory about how Daven and I met. We actually met almost 10 years ago in law school through just, I would say, fate brought us together. We both signed up to attend a networking event, and we got paired up to carpool because we both needed a ride to get to the networking event. And we just, looked for each other and introduced each other, and ended up going to back-to-back 2 networking events together that night. And throughout the evening, we got to get to know each other a little more, and we both learned that we both love to dance and love food and love to cook and just shared a lot of things in common. And ever since then, it's just been a great journey for the two of us. Got to see each other grow through law school, taking the bar exams, and now practicing law and becoming law firm owners. So one thing that I really admire about Daven is his positivity, because through the years of just being friends and knowing each other, seeing the challenges and things that happen in life, Daven always has a way of turning that into either a lesson learned or just something positive out of it. I remember something that Daven has shared with me once. I believe I was venting to him about something, and he said, well, June, turn that as fuel for motivation. And it really stuck with me. So there you go. There's Daven.
Thank you, June. And, I met June in law school, and June is the founder and owner of Gift of Love Legal. It's a real estate-based law firm that serves individuals and families in Maryland, D.C., and Washington. Fueled by her passion to help people, June started Gift of Love Legal to help mitigate some of the pitfalls that she has witnessed through practice from happening as much as possible. My impression of June has always been, or my favorite thing about June is her compassion and the way that she's able to love and care, and I see that reflected in not just how she treats her friends and family, but also her clients. And I have never met an attorney with a law firm called Gift of Love Legal, and I think that kind of says a lot about June. So we are excited to start our webinar today and just kind of talk. And June, I'll have you start with our first discussion question, which is why we decided to start our law firm.
Sure. So, I guess what I'm curious is, Daven, what motivated you? I know you had been practicing law, you were working at firms. What motivated you to make that leap to start your own firm?
Yeah, June, I want to say, I came to the US, to America as an immigrant when I was 18 years old. For me, it was always the idea that this is me realizing my American dream. It's me, after getting my green card, being able to then go out on my own and to achieve freedom, both financially and also with time. The fact that even though I just started my practice not too long ago, and we meant to say I started my practice in October of 2023 because we are not yet in October of 2024. But, even in the short time that I started my firm, I've been able to go back to Malaysia twice, which is where I'm from, and visit my family, where I got to spend a month and run my practice from Malaysia. So it's that freedom that really inspired me to start my own firm. And
That's
June,
great. Yeah.
what about you, June? What kind of pushed you into starting your own law firm?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've always seen myself as an entrepreneur. I have, various business ideas that I plan to implement in my lifetime. And so starting a law firm was just one of the goals that I had. And it was just a matter of time. And when the opportunity presented itself, I told myself, okay, you've, talked about doing it, you've thought about doing it, and you've actually, made some steps towards starting your own law firm. So why not give it a try now? And that was what motivated me. But really, similar to your reason for starting your own firm, it's freedom. Freedom to me is very important, having the flexibility, being the decision maker. So that to me is very important.
Thank you. Now, the main reason a lot of people don't start the business is because of a fear of failure. Many people just don't want to take that initial step. Did you, and I mean, that's something that every one of us have experienced, I'm sure, but did you have any fears or any limiting belief when you were starting, or when deciding to start your own law firm?
For sure. When I was trying to make a decision whether to go the entrepreneurial route, because I'm a visual person, I made a pros and cons list. So, what it would look like, the pros and cons for staying as an employee, pros and cons of, starting going down the entrepreneurial route. And at the end, I had a lot more pros under the entrepreneurial route. And as far as fears and limiting beliefs, I mean, my main fear was not having that consistent income. I knew I was going to have to be faced with that in the beginning. And so when I realized that that was my fear, that was when I said, okay, June, then let's look at the numbers. Let's look at how much money you've saved up, how much money do you have, how much are you going to need? And that was what helped me.
So you went,
Yeah.
making sure that you had an informed decision by weighing both the pros and cons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wh-
Yeah.
and
What about you? Did
yeah,
you have any fears or limiting beliefs?
I want to say yes. I'm sure I did. But I think I'm more delusional than maybe irrational because I think that to be successful in business, you have to have some sort of confidence that it's going to succeed. So it's that delusional confidence that I am going to succeed is what kind of pushed me. The only thing that was holding me back, really was my visa, and having that sorted gave me the all the motivation I need to kind of go forward to this route. But June, now let's get into, you talked about weighing the pros and cons and saving up money. Let's talk about the initial steps you took to set up your business.
Sure. So, because I had never run a business before in the past, and I didn't take any business courses in school, so I knew that I needed the education to run a business. So, what I did was I started looking into local bar associations courses. So, DC Bar offers practice management courses to its members. So, I started taking those courses. I also looked into hiring a law firm business coach. And those were the two main things that really helped me, because the coach was someone who had done it, and she's teaching us the failures, the lessons that she's learned so that we don't have to go through the same, and just having that guidance and support. And then, the practice management courses, they teach you everything, nuts and bolts. And it was more because my firm is based in DC. I wanted also advisors who could advise me on DC laws. So those were the two main things that I went for that helped me when I was establishing my firm. What about you, David? What did you do to take those initial steps?
Yeah, so I had savings of about 20,000 before starting the firm. I think a lot of times I am quite grateful for COVID in the sense that it had normalized virtual offices. So my overhead costs, I'm able to reduce so much in overhead costs. For example, not having to need a physical office. I have a co-working space at the World Trade Center, which is great. But the amount I pay for it is so much less than I would have to pay if I were to get an actual physical office. And so that has really helped a lot. And then as far as getting ready, you're right. For me, it was all about there are things that I just didn't know, and that is running a business. And I decided, you know what, let me learn it from professionals, from the experts. So I took a business program as well. I found a program that really appealed to me as far as being able to automate your practice, as far as the mindset and the vision of the founder. And so I that was my first investment. It was about 9,000, and I joined the coaching program. The other thing I did also, June, was read a lot of business books, just to kind of get inspired. And one of the books is Why by Simon or something. Your Why by Simon Sinek. I guess if you guys know, I'm trying to look if I have it around here. But it's all about trying to figure out what your why is before starting the business.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing. Um, what about your typical week? Now that we've talked about what motivated us, what limiting beliefs and fears we had to overcome before we actually took that leap, right? And now we've shared a little bit about the initial steps that we took to build our practices. I'm kind of curious, David. So, how does your typical week look?
Yeah, I actually have videos which I'm going to show in a second. But before we move on, June, one of the things on the slides right now is building a client base. When starting out the firm, I think a lot of times we fear, like, okay, now that we've started our firm, where are we getting our clients? We need money, we need clients. What did you do, June, to kind of bring in those initial clients?
Yeah. So I essentially had to start from scratch with my client base. So really, so far, it's just been word of mouth, letting my contacts know, letting my friends, family, colleagues know, and people who have reached out for consultation calls and client engagements. Those have really all been just referrals. So I would say that is how I have been building my client base. Now, I also understand that we live in a world of technology, and so having an online presence is very important, if not crucial, to build your brand and also your practice. So I am, making steps towards having an online presence for the firm.
Great.
What about you, David?
Yeah, so I've been practicing for about 9 years now, 2015, yeah, 9 years. And even though I didn't leave my old firm with clients, it was just a lot of clients that already know me, know my work, so they were happy to make that referral to their friends and family. So that was initially my first load of clients were from referrals, and then I also have so I use TikTok, I use social media marketing. And so my TikTok followers, I have about 13,000 people. My handle is Daven the Lawyer, so you guys are welcome to follow me. But I do get a lot of my client referrals from TikTok as well. So I saw the value in it, and I started it at the beginning of COVID. At first, it was just for fun, but then now it's really become a good source of clients for my firm.
That's great. Yeah, you definitely inspire me to be more active on the social media world.
Yeah, and that's something that we've started. I mean, the start of this year, we started a marketing mastermind where we are all newer attorneys trying to figure out the social media and trying to market our practices without having to pay money. And that's the beauty of social media, that we can do that. So let me quickly
Right.
share the screen and see if it will play the audio, because earlier it wasn't playing the audio. Oh, let me just go back. And if it doesn't work, I'll just play it without the video background. Let me see more. And then I gotta, 1 second. Share. Share that. All right, let me see if that works with the audio. So I just got done with 8 appointments today. It's been crazy! The day's done. It's 8:12 at night, and I just completed some client work. It's heartbreaking to see your parents live in fear. How are you? Happy Friday. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I just finished setting up my schedule for the day. I went through my calendar.
Happy that we had the pleasure of meeting each other in Wisconsin.
All right, so let me then play June's week in her life, and then we can go about to just talking. Oh, great. So let me quickly stop sharing the video, and then we can. All right, were you able to listen to the audio on that?
I was able to hear the audio for you
Okay.
for your video.
Okay, great. Well, I hope everybody else was able to as well. Now, June, now that we've kind of showed a little bit. One of the assignments we had for this webinar was like, let's just try and record a week in our lives, and what that really looks like. Now, June, what's your typical week look like? I mean, we've seen some pictures. Talk to us through that.
Yeah, sure. So the videos that I shared, there were some nature walks, also a video of me in dance class. There were also videos of just showing, what my day looks like, with the schedule on, with a shot of my computer, me journaling. So it's maybe planning out my day, maybe saying what I'm grateful for. And then, just pictures of the meals that I have. And it's also because I do a lot of mini celebrations. So there was also a photo of where I got groceries delivered to the house. And instead of just a normal grocery being delivered to the house, I made it as a gift. And so I wrote myself a little message. It was around 4th of July. So it's really just about celebrating the little wins and the little things in life. Also, you probably saw a photo of a bird, and it's just me journaling. And I looked out the window and I saw a bird. There was also a photo of, the curtain in my room. And instead of just, tying the knot on the curtain, I purposely tie it into a bow so that every morning when I'm tying that bow tie, I'm reminding myself that this life is a gift. And it just keeps me, more mindful. Um, the photo of my ID card when I was a law student as a judicial extern reminds me to stay ethical and to, stay in integrity. And it also acts as a reminder of how far I've come from when I was a law student till now. So those are just little reminders of how I go through my day to kind of keep me going, keep me motivated, and keep me calm throughout the day.
Mm,
Yeah.
great.
What about you, David?
For me, I'm a big believer in time blocking. So what I did was I have different days for different things. So Mondays I have my afternoons to see clients, Wednesdays I see clients, and Thursdays I see clients. Tuesdays are my finance and billing days. So this is like the day which I really dislike. So I decided I needed to work on my business on Tuesdays. And then Fridays, I like to keep it free. I like to ease into the weekend. So I keep my Fridays for mastermind meetings. So if you saw, or podcast recordings, or just recording videos for the firm and for the YouTube pages. So in that video montage, I have a video of June and I discussing our webinar. I also have my appearance on a podcast that a friend of mine has. And so Fridays are my ease days. The thing that I found with time blocking is every day I also start off every morning with a planner. I sit down, I do my meditation, and then I write out all the things that I need to get done for the day. And so the good thing about time blocking and having a planner is that even on the days when I don't have the motivation, I know I have tasks to complete and I can just get through the task without needing that extra inspiration to keep going. So yeah, so that's what my typical week looks like, June. Now, what are some things that you do, June, to kind of stay motivated and be productive?
Um, there was a photo of the wall with a bunch of post-its from the video montage, and that's actually a lot of words of affirmations that I've written to myself, and also the reasons why I started my law firm. And I look at that from time to time in the mornings after I get up, before I start my day, so that it acts as a reminder of why I'm doing this. And, during times where I feel like, okay, I need a little bit of pick me up or a little motivation, it does help. And like I've said before, because I'm a visual person, it's helpful to have that on the wall.
June, another thing I love that I know you do, it's called the Sunshine Walks. Can you talk a little bit about what the Sunshine Walk is and why you practice that?
Sure. So, because I work predominantly in the home office, so I make a point to leave the house every day to get some sunshine because I love being outside. I love the sun, but sometimes we could get comfortable at home. And so when I go on my walks, I call it Sunshine Walk because I'm outside, I'm getting my sunshine, and usually it's a time when I check in with myself. So I'll bring my morning coffee or tea with me, and I'll just ask myself, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And I'll just start talking as if I'm talking to a friend or a therapist, and just basically let out whatever's on my mind, whatever's on my chest. And oftentimes I end up coming up with either new ideas, or I walk around and I run into someone I know, and we catch up a little bit, and so that's a bit of marketing for the firm. Or I just end up solving my own problem while I'm talking myself out loud, because I'm able to see the situation from an objective perspective. And by the time I come back, I've broken into a sweat. My mind and my heart have been cleared out, and I feel good. And I take a shower and I eat a full meal, and by the time I'm sitting in front of my computer to work, I feel like I'm in a good place. Yeah.
That's great. Um, I want to say that one thing that I do is I try and exercise, and that really helps me ease a lot of my worries sometimes. But I also start every morning with meditation, and I do a visual, no, what do you call it? When you follow along,
Like a guided
a guided
meditation?
meditation. Yeah, so I do guided
Yeah.
meditations, and that is great because it helps kind of center me. It helps me be grateful for everything that I have, and it just helps set the tone for the day. So I do a lot of guided meditation as far as how I handle the stress of everyday life.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. And just to kind of piggyback off of what you had shared earlier about time blocking, I'm definitely big on time blocking too. Especially now that, we pretty much create our own schedules, right? So it's really important to give yourself some sort of structure of, okay, when am I handling the finances? When am I doing marketing? When am I taking consultation calls and having client meetings and all the other things? Or even when am I going to the doctor appointments, right? So I definitely second that. Yeah.
Great. Now, June, let's talk about everyone's favorite topic, money. This is also
Sure.
perhaps the biggest source of fear for many. How am I going to pay rent? How am I going to buy food or take care of my child? For new law firms, understanding how to manage their finances could be the difference between being thriving and struggling. So, can you share, June, how you have managed your finances when starting out? Specifically, maybe how do you approach funding, budgeting, and handling any financial challenges that have has come your way?
Definitely. So, before I took the leap to start my own firm, I was working at another firm. So, I was in private practice, but I always knew that I was going to get into business of some sort. Before I made the decision that it was going to be starting my own law firm, I had already started saving towards, I called it a business fund. And I had saved up to $30,000. And I knew that I wanted to invest in some business, but I didn't know what it was going to be. So as soon as I made the decision that I was going to start my own law firm, it was like a light bulb went off. Okay, well, the fund that I have that I was going to invest in a business, might as well invest it in my own business. So I started off with the $30,000. Um, I've also received gifts from family that helped out towards investing in the business as well. And so far, I've put in about close to $80,000 already towards the business. And that's all just personal funds. That's not, business making money profit right now, because at this point, Gift of Love Legal is not making a profit. So about a month and a half ago, I applied for a line of credit just to, buy me some runway, and I got denied. It was through Chase Bank, and they told me it was because my business has not been established for 2 years. So right now I am looking into applying for a line of credit at local and smaller banks. Even if it's just $50,000 or $75,000, it's better than nothing, right? So that's the next step. I'm also looking into local economic development centers, which are basically local nonprofits. So instead of going through a financial institution, you can look at local nonprofits that would support, maybe like minority owned businesses, women owned businesses, LGBTQ plus owned businesses, whatever it might be, and see if you can receive some sort of financial assistance through there. I'm also looking into grants for small businesses. So just looking into various ways to have funding. And, I'm attending 2 conferences this year. And when I registered for these conferences, I also looked at whether they had scholarships available or fee waivers. So, I tell myself, if there's a will, there's a way. So, like what we talked about earlier, right? We may have fears, we may have limiting beliefs, we may have challenges, but if there's a will, there's a way. And when you get into that situation and your will is really strong, you're going to make it happen. You're going to find ways, you're going to find resources to make it happen.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, June, and also for being so vulnerable with your numbers and all of that. Now, I think, at least for me, when it comes to starting out and how I manage my finance, so like I said, I had 20,000 saved. When I the first few months, I really didn't pay myself anything. I just recently started paying myself about 2,000 ish just to pay rent, and
Yay.
and so for me, it's about, let me just take care of my basic necessities. Let me reinvest everything into the business. I started about 9 months ago, and I'm so happy to, like, I just did a quick run through of how many clients I have, and I have 69 clients in 9 months. And so I was very proud of that. I was like, okay, this, a lot of time, that fear, the more you practice, the more you are in business and you start seeing the clients come in, the more confident you feel, the more you're like, you know what, I got this. And even though it's been 9 months, some months I'm like, man, it's quite slow this month. Other months I'm like, okay, you know what, we are rocking this month. But then even during the low time and the slow time, I use those time to kind of plan the business. I'm like, okay, I have all this time, let me record some videos, let me put myself out there, let me find ways to bring in more clients. Now, what I do with managing finances, for me, that was my biggest hurdle, which is, I don't really know where the taxes go. I don't really know, how to put towards my retirement account, or how do I expand my business into something else. And so these were knowledge that, as much as I can maybe figure it out on my own, which will probably take a few years, look at professionals. So I hired an accountant, and I just recently hired a financial wealth manager, a financial advisor who can advise me on expanding the business. Some of the things that I'm looking at doing is hiring more employees, opening another law firm, starting a family, buying a home. So having the right professionals who are there to advise you is so important. And so that's what I've been doing recently.
For sure. I mean, I definitely agree because, like what I had shared earlier, I didn't take business courses in school. And so, what I ended up doing was I hired someone. And in fact, for any of the aspiring business owners or newly established business owners out there, if you want, my friend slash colleague, Lucy Liu, she's phenomenal. And we can put her information in the show notes later. But I hired her to help me with setting up the finances. She's a CPA, and so she's, helped me. The first step was to set up, link QuickBooks to all the business accounts and teaching me how to read a profit and loss statement because I didn't know anything about that, right? And building good habits, okay, going into QuickBooks on a regular basis, right, to input, notate, okay, what was this expense for? So that by the time when taxes come or if you ever get audited, you don't have to be scrambling, trying to think back, what happened on this day? And also just building good practices, good habits, downloading all the bank statements on the first Tuesday of each month and just setting up a system for me. So that's been really helpful and just having her guidance and support. And she and I meet, every Friday because like what we talked about earlier, time blocking is very important. So every Friday for me is business, financial, and marketing day. So we meet every Friday and we'll talk, we'll strategize, and she'll consult me. And similar to you, Daven, I also have an accountant. I also have a financial advisor. So it's really just like what you said earlier, hiring people who have the expertise, who have the experience to help you and your business grow. Yeah.
June, my next question will be, what makes a good team? How do you go about hiring people?
Yeah, so for me, it's two things that are important to me are the experience. So, like what we had shared earlier, because I have no experience in finance or accounting, no education in that. So, for me, it was important for me to hire somebody who has the experience. And same thing with social media, online presence, right? I have no education, no experience developing a website, building a website, or doing social media type of work. So for me, it's important for me to hire people who can do that. And then also another thing that I look for is work ethic, someone who shares similar work ethic as I do so that we can both work together and both grow together. Yeah.
Great.
What about you, David? I know you've got a full staff, a full team. So what about you? What do you look for?
Well, I only have 3 people. I have 3 people, not a full team. But I always think about it this way, right? There's three tiers. One is your mentors, so people who can provide strategic guidance, help you with your vision. And then I have peers. So these are people like you and I, people who are in the same boat, who are also growing, where you can bounce ideas off each other, see what's working, what's not. You're learning together. And then there's your team. And for me, the team is so crucial because they help with your day-to-day handling of tasks, right? And so for me, it was so critical for me to create proper SOPs and metrics so that I have outlined all these expectations and I can see that they're meeting these expectations. So a lot of times, at least when I hire somebody, I first look at their vibe and whether I look at their personality and see whether they vibe with me and the company culture. Because I'm not a very strict person. I'm very personable. I like to have a good time and get to know my assistant. So like I know one of my executive assistant, Jessica, her eldest daughter is turning 18 in a few months, and they have no, not in a few months, in August 2nd, and they're going on a vacation together. So learning things about your assistants and about your team. So for me, personality is very important, and then I also look at whether they are good at what they do. So having the SOP really helps me, even though I'm very nice to my employees or my assistants. If they don't meet the expectations, then I'm very quick to let them go. So I hire quick and I fire quick. And that's basically how I've done it, and it's been pretty great for me.
Yeah, that's great. So I believe we talked a little bit about what makes a good team, and so what have you learned so far since starting your firm?
Sure. I could share 3 lessons maybe that I've learned. And I like to talk about this. I think number one, it's always knowing yourself, knowing your why, and being able to trust your instinct. Just like how you have to really know yourself before you can love another person, I think it's really important even in business. You really have to know your vision, what you want to achieve before you can grow that business. Because the problem is, as we are starting out, and you have definitely experienced this, and I know I have, you get a lot of advice from every person, and they all are, it's all with good intention, but you have to know what you want first before you can take on another person's advice, because that might work for them, but it might not work for you and what you want to establish in your business. So number one, know yourself and know your why, and trust your instinct. I think number two is something I learned from my business program, which is done is better than perfect. And this is something that I have done from the very first day, which is just do it. If I was say I'm recording a video, I'm like thinking, okay, I need to buy this equipment, I need the proper backdrop, I need the lighting, I need the mic. But all I really need is just an iPhone and just speaking to my clients, speaking to them about what really affects them. At the end of the day, it's about them, not you. So done is better than perfect is something that I definitely think is a huge lesson I've learned and practiced. And then the last thing would be coming from a place of abundance and practicing gratitude. I think a lot of times, especially in the world of business, some people might think, okay, I don't want to share this strategy because I don't want somebody else or another attorney to take my business. But there is enough for everyone. And so when I see my friends do well, I am cheering them on instead of feeling envious or feeling jealous. So I think that mindset of abundance and then practicing gratitude is being thankful and grateful for everything that we have has been things that I've learned. Now, June, tell me about some of the lessons that you've learned in the short time of you running your practice.
Yeah, I would say I definitely share the same sentiment with a lot of the lessons that you've learned so far, right? Like knowing your whys, your reason, your motivation, the reason behind taking that leap. And I think that's very important. And that's kind of, kept me going when times are tough, right? You have to remind yourself, why did I take this leap, right? I could have stayed as an employee, got my consistent income every 2 weeks. Why did I take this leap, right? And it's because I want to take more vacations. I want to eventually start a family so that I have the flexibility to spend time with my family, to create memories. And also, like what you said earlier, trusting your gut. Very similar. A story that I'll share is right before I was going to launch, I had to make a decision on how I was going to have the process take place. And I've gotten, advice about, oh, you can start with an Excel spreadsheet, you can start with Google Sheets, or you can make an investment and pay somebody to build out your system and have all the automation in place. And I looked for all different kinds of advice, and at the end of the day, I just had to trust myself. And really, it's going back to what you were saying, knowing yourself too, right? I know myself, I'm not tech savvy. And if I'm going to be learning a new system, then I'm going to just learn it one time, right? So then if I'm going to learn it one time, let me just learn it the way I want my firm to be, right? Years from now. So I chose to make that investment. And back to what we were saying earlier, knowing your numbers, the finances, right? It was an investment. And so I really had to look at my numbers and say, okay, well, I've got this credit card limit that's $14,000. I just opened up the credit card at Chase for my business. But if you spend a certain amount the first 3 months of opening that credit card, you get $900 back. So I was counting the numbers. Okay, the investment's going to use this much. That means essentially I'm spending this much on this investment. And really just making that decision from that perspective, but really just trusting your gut, because at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to have to live with the consequences, right? With whatever actions you take, whatever decision you make. And similar to what you were saying, just kind of letting go of that perfectionism, right? So what I tell myself is growing at stages. Right before I was going to launch, my initial thought was, well, I need to have the website already up and running. I got to have this, I got to have that. You know what, Jude? Just have whatever in place, what you will need right now. A landing page where clients can go, schedule that 15-minute consultation call works. Let's just stick with that now. You've got that client meeting coming up. Just make sure that everything is set up for that confirmation call or for that consultation call. Just growing at stages. And one more thing that I would like to add is believing in yourself. I think that's very important. You got to believe in yourself. You got to trust yourself. Because if you don't, if you have doubt about yourself, then that's where you could waver. That's where you could, have moments where I don't know, right? You got to believe in yourself. So whatever you have to do, whether it's praying, whether it's, I don't know, whatever will work for you, do that so that you can have that full belief in yourself, knowing that you are going to succeed. You're going to put in your best effort in everything that you do and just keep going.
Great. June, what is your definition of success, and what are some of the future goals you have for your law firm?
So success to me means that I am healthy and living pain-free so that I can continue to grow the business, and so that I can take vacations and create memories with my loved ones. That's what success looks like to me. And what are some of my goals and aspirations for Gift of Love Legal? I would say continue to grow. Like I said earlier, right now, I launched at the end of January. So right now, we have 2 clients. So just continue to grow, continue to serve the community. And as far as quantifying goal, I would say, hopefully by year 3, I could hit the 7+ figure mark. But I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself. It's a goal. It's something that I could work towards. But yeah, I won't die if I don't, if it doesn't happen. Just put in my best effort each day. Yeah. What about you, Daven?
Yeah, so success to me is me being able to get on a flight anytime I want to go visit my family. It's being able to take vacations with my family. It's about being able to start my own family and spending time together. To me, that's my definition of success. Once I can do that, I would feel like I'm in a happy place. I would like to have, as far as future goals, I would like to have two law firms, one in California, one in New York, and then possibly open an international office in Malaysia, where I'm from. And then, as far as quantifying what my idea of success is, my reasonable goal for the first year would hopefully be 250,000. My crazy goal for the first year would be hitting 500,000, and then for the second year, I would love to get to that $1 million mark. So one thing that I'm trying to do right now is to start paid marketing, which is a lot of investment that I am putting towards the business. So I'm hoping that that would bring in more clients, but we're here to see. I am excited to start that journey though.
That's great. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. So it looks like we are getting close towards the about 10 minutes, 11 minutes left for our webinar. So we do have the Q&A section coming up. And then after that, we have our rapid fire questions. David, would you like me to go through the questions? I see some questions in our chat.
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so let's see. First of all, okay. What are the biggest challenges you currently face in growing your business? That's the first question.
So I'm at a good point as far as challenges are, because right now I feel like with more clients coming in, I need to hire more. So my challenge right now at where I am is hiring the right people. So whether it be hire a paralegal or hire intake people to help manage the calls that come in, or contract out work for attorneys to help reduce the caseload, because the whole point I want to start a business is so the business is working for me, not the other way around. So the more clients that come right now, I'm doing almost everything, and so just making sure that I have the right people in place. So my biggest challenge right now is figuring out what my next hire is. What about yours,
Nice.
June?
That's awesome. I would say my biggest challenge right now is probably getting clients, just getting schedules, getting clients to schedule consultation calls, to schedule client meetings, and talking about limiting beliefs. My law firm business coach actually recommended that I reach back out to the people that I've spoken to, people that I had client meetings scheduled, and maybe I had to cancel them for whatever reason, or maybe consultation calls that people wanted to schedule with me but didn't end up booking, right? So these are people who have shown and expressed interest. And my law firm business coach said, well, June, why don't you reach back out to them? Sometimes life gets busy, right? Estate planning is something that people can really put on the back burner, right? Very easily. You can postpone doing that and procrastinate. So why don't you reach back out to them? And a limiting belief that I realized that I had was the fear of rejection. I felt resistance despite my law firm business coach saying, June, these are people who have expressed interest. They're very, all you have to do is reach back out to them. I felt resistance doing that. And so I had to go on my sunshine walk, talk to myself and figure out why I was feeling resistant. And I realized it was because I had the fear of rejection. And so actually yesterday on my sunshine walk, I, just realized that, you are running a business after all, right? Like, what are you afraid of, right? And so, yeah, that's my next step. After this webinar, I'll be reaching back out to them and letting them know my next available dates and see what happens. In fact, speaking of that, last night, I reached out to one potential client who had expressed interest, and I emailed her and gave her a couple of my available times for a consultation call. And she emailed me back right away and said, I'm out of town those days, but I scheduled a call with you on another day. So there you go. That's proof to you, right? Sometimes you just have to unblock those limiting beliefs. So yeah, I would say that is the answer to the question.
Josman shared that when you reach back out, hit the reset button. There are techniques to overcome the fear of rejection, such as no-oriented question. Chris Voss has a good book on this, Never Split the Difference. That's cool. Thank you. I'm going to look into that book. What I do, June, is, and everybody, with my fear, because I think if you come from a sales background, you're very in tune with this, which is handling rejection, moving on, being able to make that sell. For me, I just hire somebody. So my marketing person, she is amazing. So she reaches out to potential clients for me. She puts my my videos on different platforms. So she helps me do the things that I'm fearful of. So sometimes if it's reaching out to a client or answering an email, I'll be like, can you just say this and send it? It's that hitting the send button. I need somebody to hit that send for me sometimes. And hiring somebody else to do it made it a lot easier. So that's what I do. Now, I know Lucy also asked another question. It's about concerns for potential legal disputes or litigation and how we plan to handle these issues. I can quickly answer it. I think for lawyers especially and a lot of professionals, getting malpractice insurance is so important so that if you do get sued, you are able to have the insurance help you out with that. But then also making sure that your the contracts or your representation agreements are good and that they address any potential issues that could arise. I think that really helps with addressing those concerns for potential legal disputes.
Right, right. And also just staying on top of the continuing legal education courses, managing money courses, legal ethics courses, staying on top of those, and then also reaching out to the bar associations. If you have any inkling, thought or idea that, I wonder if this, could be an ethical issue, reach out. We have those anonymous hotlines where lawyers can call the bar associations and just, get your questions answered. So I think those are helpful too.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. And I know Anthony wrote, family support is crucial. 100% agree. Can you tell us about your families?
Sure. Do you want to go first, Daven?
Go ahead.
Tell us about your family. So right now I'm, not married yet. I am in a serious relationship. I do plan to, move forward with the relationship and eventually start a family of my own. But I do have a sister, a brother-in-law, my parents, and, obviously extended families and really, really good friends. And they're all super supportive. And that's one thing that I'm very grateful for. Just all the love and support that I've been receiving throughout this entire journey so far.
And then as for me, I'm married, so my partner, we live together. And then, but the rest of my entire family is back home in Malaysia. And I have my youngest brother who is in Australia. He's been my source of inspiration ever since I came to the United States. Everything I do it for him because I want to set a good example as an older brother. My parents are my biggest supporters. They've helped me through every single possible scenario I've faced and struggles I faced. But then the other thing as well, because I came to America alone and for the most of my 18, 17 years I've been here, I've been by myself. And so my family are the friends that are around me. And so I've been so fortunate. I've lived in Wisconsin, in Massachusetts, in California, in New York, in Mexico, and Guatemala. And all these places I've found people who I consider family. So that's my story. Family behind you and friends as family will carry you far. 100%. So it looks like there are no more questions. Jude?
That is correct. I am going to I know we have some aspiring business owners out here, so I am going to put my fractional COO's contact information down here. For any of you, when you are ready to hire, you could reach out to her. Her name is Lucy Liu, and that is her website. But yeah, we just want to thank you all for joining us today. If you want to follow us on any of our social media accounts, come join us. And if you have any questions or if you want to, have more of a one-on-one chat with us, just to kind of, chat a little bit more about when you're ready to take the leap, because I see that some of you, have said not a business owner yet. I love that. Possibility of hanging up a shingle is always at the edge of my mind. I love it. I love it. Before I made that leap, that was mine too. In fact, when I first moved out to DC, I had written in my journal back in 2016, I said, I want to work at a firm, learn the ropes, and then start my own firm. And look, it happened. I mean, throughout those years, it was still in the back of my mind too. And I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I knew when the time was right, it was going to happen. So, yeah.
And we still don't know what it's looking like. As our title says, we are still on our way. So we hope together, and we hope that you guys also jump on and get to whatever your final destination is. And then finally on the screen, I have our contact information. You can write us emails. You can also follow us on our social media. Mine is just Daven the Lawyer on both Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Or Casa Law is my law firm page. And then I have June's information below there as well.
Yes. I think that wraps up everything. Would you say, David?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I hope that this has been beneficial also for you as you join us on our conversation. And we hope to see you around for our next webinar.
Thank you.